Okay. Now, the first piece of sheet metal on there, you can tell is perfectly square, see? The square here, here, and a square. Now I had to force that corner there quite a bit over to get it good and square. So now on my studs, I am going to use short screws. So once I start screwing along the bottom here, I'm going to go where each stud is, and I'm going to go through this, the next, and the third. So you have to use a little bit longer screws because you're going through 3 layers of sheet metal. I'm using just hex head screws. I use them all the time in ductwork because I do heating and cooling for a living. I own my own business, not to brag, but I own my own business for years. So anyway, when I do these, I'll use a little bit longer screws just to make sure we're good and secure. And it's pretty flimsy, okay? But once you get your first piece of sheet metal on there, you'd be surprised on how quick this steel firms up tight. Because it's extremely flimsy until you put sheathing on it. Once you put sheathing on it, bam, you are good to go. Now, what I'm doing, I'm not sure if you can see, I hope so. Yeah, you can see. If you look where my screws are, I'm coming up off the bottom of that. I don't want to put screws right here. Because when you have a gap like this, 2 ways you can do it. You can use S cleats, okay? I get all that stuff from a supplier, but Home Depot, Lowe's, Crapnards, any of those places that sell any kind of sheet metal, ductwork, they will have S cleats. I buy 5-footers. Well, I use S cleats all the time when I'm doing furnaces and ductwork and that, so I use a shitload of them. I'm not sure how many I'll use on this. I could tell you the door, but what I'm going to do, okay? If I had an S cleat, I would show you. Anyway, what I'm going to do is on my next piece of sheet metal, I'm going to bend my S cleat into the sheet metal itself. Okay, I might get a shot of how to do that on the break. And that way there, you have to use the material anyway, so you're not really wasting material. You're not really wasting S cleat, but if you can't do that, you don't have a break. Most people, it's not something they would have. I've had that break for, I don't want to say 30 some years, but I've had it for a long time. That's the heat kicking on. I'm using I'm using a torpedo heater right now because I don't have the in-floor heat ran yet. It's all ran, but I don't have tank hooked up here. So anyway, put an S cleat there, put your 2 slides, your 2 pieces together, you're good to go. No air leaks really, it's pretty tight. So use S cleats. Now, if you notice, I'm using a measuring tape here, okay? Because I know that in there, the 12-inch on center, and I know this is 12-inch on center. Here, it's not 12-inch on center. So this one hit dead on. This one was a little bit off. All right, and if you can notice, I don't know if you can see it from there, but you can see this stud here is basically, you know, almost a 1/2 inch, 2 3/4 off. So it's not centered. So by using a measuring tape, I can make sure that bad boy is centered. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it over to where it's centered. Not sure if you can see. If you can't see, that's fine. Bad screw. That was an aluminum screw. Not sure how it got mixed up in there. So. And if you look at the studs, if I had a piece I could show you. The studs, depending on the manufacturer, when they roll them, They kind of mark the center of the stud. If you look at it, can't see. This line right here, okay, is the center, okay, between here. So that's your center mark, and that's all there is. And if, like I say, when this is in there, if you try to put a screw on this outside edge, all right, if you're looking at it, you put a screw out here. See how that bends? Your screw's not going to go in unless you're holding this up. Can't hold it up when you're covered it with sheet metal. So I stick to the outside edge. And no matter what, you put a screw in this outside edge, this part will bend, but this isn't going to give enough, and it'll pull it up tight. Then if you want to add another screw, you can. So, that's pretty much what the studs look like, okay? They have folded edges. Doesn't matter whether you're going 1 5/8, 2 1/2, or 3 1/2. Most manufacturers are pretty much the same. Now, as far as the bottom rail goes, in a way, your track, I don't know, I should edit this. Anyway, you see how your track is just width? There's no lip on this. And the reason is because if there's a lip on it, when you try to jam your stud in there, it's going to push out. So these tracks are designed where the stud will fit right in there. So make sure you use track. Just don't, you can use metal studs, but it creates problems. So make sure you use the track basically for the bottom and top of your walls and door, whatever you want to do. Make sure you use track. Goes together a lot easier. And that's what you want to use, is this track, top and bottom. So anyway, you can see that's pretty much square now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more sheet metal. I'm going to get the sheet metal done. I may show you how to do a brake, how to use a how to use the brake, and add a S Cleat into the sheet metal. I'll get it all measured out and everything, and I'll kind of show you how to bend it so you can see how easy it is, because you don't need to see the whole thing getting assembled. I will give you, in the end, I'll give you the dimensions of my oven, a materials list of what you're going to need. Now, materials list as far as steel goes, some people buy steel roofing materials that they use at pole barns and stuff. You can use that kind of sheet metal, but obviously it's not flat. Okay, so that's kind of a disadvantage, but it would still look cool. I'm using galvanized sheet metal for the whole thing. The thinner sheet metal can handle maybe up to 500 degrees before it starts having problems. It's not going to melt, so don't even worry about that. The thicker the sheet metal inside the oven is the best way to go. If you can't buy a heavier gauge, go ahead and go with the 28, 30 gauge or whatever. Get the thickest you can, not the thickest, but get some panning material is really, really thin, and that's basically what this is. Looks fine for the outside, but like I say, the inside, I just wanted to show you on the inside of the oven the difference between cross breaking and not. So tomorrow I got to pick up all the sheet metal for the inside of that, and I'll get shots of that sheet metal as I'm putting it together on the inside of the oven. So I'll cut it here, and I'll mark out my next piece, and I'll show you how to bend an S Cleat into the material. Most people won't be able to do that because they don't have access to a brake. But anyway, I just appreciate you watching, and I will pause and come back. Okay, now what I did to incorporate my S Cleat into the sheet metal, I made 2 notches, all right, 1 inch and 2 inch, both sides. So when I bend it, one is going to get bent all the way over, and then the other one part way. So once you get it bent with this brake, I can only go so far. This is a pro brake. You can use a folding tool, basically to kind of do the same thing, but you'd have to use the folding tool, and then you'd have to use a where are they at? You'd have to use your it's a folding bar, folding tool. This is squeeze it. It's got notches to do your small bends. When you're doing a long bend like this, you can use a brake. If not, you can use a folding tool. They make them in 2-foot lengths. Slips over the material, then you bend it. I have all of it because I do sheet metal ductwork. So anyway, I'm going to slip this in there and show you my 2 bends. I want to make sure that I do it right. I've already put my, as you can see, I've already put my cross bar. So kind of a pain to do. Let's find it here. Alrighty. Lock it down. Okay, we look good. Gonna bend that one over as far as you can. Now, as you can see, that gives you your first part of your S Cleat. Now, this part will get bent up this way. Okay? I should have bent that first because it's easier, but it doesn't matter. You can still do it. Alright, get in there. Looks pretty good. Oops, let's not take off the camera, right? Okay, now, if you look at that, I'm bending my S Cleat in it. This bend here will literally, let me show you. You can walk on it or you can use your hand seamers. Doesn't matter. Just work your way down. But like I say, wear gloves. It'll save you a whole bunch of aggravation. Like me, I have, I'm on blood thinners. So I get a scratch and it's like, oh my God, you're dying. No, it's all good. And anyway, so just go ahead. The first bend, you can crimp that as tight as you want. Okay? Now they make hand seamers like this. They make all the way up to what, 6-inch, 8-inch hand seamers or something. That makes it pretty good size ones. Now if you can't get it to open far enough, you can see how I'm just sliding it down. Now you can, I can slip this back in the brake. Finish crimping it. And then once I put this down and release, there you go. Got a nice tight bend. So by doing that now, this sheet metal, you can see this part here, this lip right here, that is going to slip over or under the other piece, and that stiffens the whole thing. And that's how you make a built-in, basically slip joint S Cleat, whatever you want to call it. Cheaper than buying S Cleats.